Still us don't to go away to bring you full coverage of MICAT regular press briefing. So Anti-Kenke Fogmar is predeceased Honorable Johnny Tapper, the Deputy for Administration here at MICAT. He's also Honorable Donna Otisano, Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, Honorable Albert Case Samka, Chief Program Officers. National Reform of Liberia is also predeceased with his principal deputies. So once again, sticking still with us, don't you go away to bring you full coverage of MICAT regular press briefing.
Distinguished police of the media, to our first-time guests, I'd like to publish that press law, situated here at the Ministry of Information, Public Affairs and Tourism. The late Mr. Charles Bino died in 1985, who worked with the electoral broadcasting system in the day start of the basic weekend. And so the government had not necessarily why to name this hall in his honor. For those of you who view us on the social media or radio listeners, and those from the radio station that join us on People to Latitude Broadcasting Corporation, that's CLDC, along with Prompt FM's 105.5, headed by station manager Kevin Denny. We'd like to say thank you for joining us. While the Minister of Information is away, a distinguished gentleman who have put all of the time into the financial business, a seasoned financier, a well-organized administrator, the Deputy Minister for Administration, Honorable Johnny Tapper, is in charge of the ministry. In other words, he's the acting Minister of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. The next man who speaks for the government is Honorable Daniel Sando. He's the Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs. By law, he's a principal communicative assistant to the Minister of Information. It's a very long and energetic spokesperson. Honorable Sando will mount the podium and speak to you what the government is doing. After which, we will invite our guests, Mr. Sando.
So that of the voice of the acting assistant minister for information services, Honorable Lawrence family. This is Honorable Dada Otisano, the deputy minister for press and public affairs. So sticking still with us, don't go away to bring you full coverage of MICAT regular press briefing.
Family for calling this press conference to order. It is a pleasing duty to be here again in my official capacity as the Deputy Minister of Press and Public Affairs of the Ministry of Information here. We want to join family in standing on the existing protocols to welcome the distinguished guests that are visiting us here today from the Ministry of Education and the National Road Fund. We've been on this job for the last 18 months or so. The Ministry of Education has been here on a number of occasions, and they have been very engaging in dealing with the Ministry of Information sharing, helping us to inform the public about what the government of Liberia is doing to revamp the education sector. Just a couple of days ago, we were joined in Lima County by the Deputy Minister who is here. Was representing the Minister at the government town hall, and he was very helpful in showing that timely information was disseminated to the public. Today they are here. And so, Anthony Yenkewa Fokpa is the Deputy Minister for Administration and Ministry of Education, but he's here in his future capacity as the IT Minister of Education, because his boss is out of the country. Anthony Fokpa is here with a team of distinguished gentlemen here. He will make the proper introduction when he mounts the podium. We also have represented here an entity of government which many of you know very little about, but they are the backbone of the government intervention in the road infrastructure. That entity is the National Road Fund. Mr. Albert K. Samukai, the Chief Program Officer at the National Road Fund. He's also here with his team. He will make the introduction when he mounts the podium. But the Road Fund has made tremendous effort in the intervention that the government of Liberia has accomplished so far in maintaining and building new roads across the country. So they are here, and I'm sure beginning today, this will not be the first time here. They're going to be coming here regularly to alert the public on the intervention, the activities, and initiative of the National Road Fund. So let me, on behalf of the senior management team of the Ministry of Information, welcome all of you to the refurbish and historic Charles Bayon Conference Room here in the Ministry. When we got here, my friend Maxine Litton will bear witness. This place, all of you bear testament to that. This place has undergone tremendous transformation. And all of these transformations we're talking about here, we enjoy the ambience, the conducive nature of this place. It's headed by the Deputy Minister for Administration, Honorable Johnny S. Tucker. All of the administrative issues, making sure that MICAT is giving a facelift, making sure that the conference room is renovated, microphones and everything working. These are all functions that fall within the ambit of the Deputy Minister for Administration. And so, here at the Ministry of Information, we're not just talking for the government. We are leading the charge to ensure that where the government speaks from can reflect not just the quality of people the President sent here, but the quality of governance that we have brought to national leadership. With that being said, I will now go into what I have to say from the perspective of the Ministry of Information. When I'm done, the Deputy Minister of Information and Education and Acting Minister, he will speak, and then he will be followed by my good friend Albert Samukai from the National Road Fund. The two of them will speak, and then we will entertain some questions from the Fourth Estate as usual. So a lot is happening. You know very well that the President on yesterday took an administrative decision. That decision is about the suspension of the Deputy Minister for Youth Development and Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Bryant McGill. The suspension comes in the wake of allegation of his involvement in the rape of a minor. The decision by the chief executive is in line with the government of Liberia zero tolerance policy towards all forms of sexual and gender-based violence, and to also ensure that ongoing investigations are fair and transparent, void of any manipulation. Deputy Mr. McGill will remain suspended until the conclusion of the investigation. And to that point, I'd like to say something further. As a country, we have to determine what we want for ourselves. And the way people want things to be done is wrong. Let me give you a flashback. Rape is a heinous crime. When somebody is accused of rape, I can understand the outrage from the public. But we have to be mindful that what takes place in the court is completely different from that outrage from the public. How many of you here can recall that in 2014 this whole country was rocked by protests or case involving the late injured Tupac? The women group, the youth group, the civil society, the women activists, they protested every day for the accused, Hans William and his wife, to be arrested and detained. That sentiment, that chant of sentiment, deeply undermined the credibility of the investigation. There were two reports. One attributed the cause of death to another thing, another one attributed the cause of death to another thing. Now, for some of you who don't know what criminal investigation or prosecution is, when there is a single doubt in the prosecution, the court will take the side of the accused. And so the story goes. There were one protest after the other in the injured Tupac case. What happened? The long of the short is, one contradiction after the other denied that innocent girl was killed the justice that she deserved. Understand? Those who were accused were set free by the high court. Why? Because we try to infuse too much sentiment. Somebody goes to report a case. Say, my 14-year-old daughter was abused by somebody. You are not even concerned about the well-being of the victim. All you're concerned about is that the police should go to arrest somebody without establishing probable cause to put a person in jail. In your mind, that is justice. But the well-being of the victim is not your concern. Where she is, what her condition is not your concern. All you want is to be political about everything in the country, and you go hold a placard, you want to protest. That's not how it will work. And the police have said, yesterday they spoke, had a press briefing. And one disgusting thing about our country is that even when stakeholders try to brief the folk expert on certain issues, people who are the interviewer do not grab certain things. The police RG and the team granted an interview yesterday, and I'm sure some of you were there. The only question that kept coming back, why you not arrested men yet? They told you they have collected CCTV footage from the crime scene, but they need to do DNA evidence. Why did they ask the RG, look, Jamale is here, why are you contacting the US Embassy? That's not your concern as a journalist. All you're concerned about, why haven't you arrested the men yet? At what point do we distinguish ourselves from those who do not know why it's supposed to be? At what point? Because somebody who is listening to you would think that the way to proceed is when anybody can just leave their house, go to the police and say, oh, Minister Sandro raped me last night. And I'm behind the microphone, and you come hang off me and get me to jail. That is the definition of justice. It doesn't work like that. The criminal justice system, our system of jurisprudence is built on, require that before the rights of individual can be curtailed, there has to be probable cause. And in the absence of that, you are simply asking the police to arrest anybody, to open a floodgate, that anybody can go to the police and say, oh, somebody raped me, and the next day you are arrested, you are in jail. The police have 48 hours. Okay, they arrest you for 48 hours. What do they charge you with? Because beyond that preliminary investigation that is taking place at the police station, there is something called prosecution. You don't go to court on fishing expedition, hoping that the judge or the jury will buy into the sentiment. However, the state lost the injured to case. They are seen up repeating the same mistake in this case. We didn't have to talk about it this much, but when people try to infuse sentiment into everything, then we have the obligation to provide the way forward. And the way forward here is now to take work away and go whole placard to the police station. Last day on the issue, the other day there was a lady at the court. She was crying, a fuller lady. Somebody raped her child, and the case was thrown out of the court. She was crying. Is it because I'm a fuller lady? So where are the activists? Did they see that woman? Or your activism is only just selective? This case has grown political interest because the person who is involved is supposed to be a government official. Well, I got news for you. The president has suspended him. So he's no longer in that position. This suspension should be able or is sufficient enough to allay all of the fear that you had to say, oh, this man, because he deputy minister, so he untouchable. He's no more deputy minister. He's suspended. So let us give the investigation of time and ease. And when the police establish, and I have to also mention that they are not doing the investigation all by themselves. The Ministry of Gender is involved. So these are an all police affair. Good thing is that they have established that indeed the little girl was deflowered. So a crime was committed. Who committed the crime? We have to establish the whole court. Let us give the investigation a chance. Thank you. President Joseph Boyka has welcomed the signing of the landmark production sharing contracts between the Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority, LPRA, and Total Engines. The agreement covered 4 offshore blocks in the Liberian Basin. The 4 production sharing contracts, PSCs with Total Engines, covering 4 offshore blocks, Block 6, 11, 17, and 29, are all in the Liberian Basin. The agreement became effective upon signature by His Excellency President Joseph Boakai and ratification by the Liberian legislature. The signing of the production sharing contracts represents one of the most important foreign investment in Liberia oil and gas sector. As one of the world's largest integrated energy companies, with a proven track record of deep water exploration across Africa and globally, Total Engineering's entry into Liberia signaled a renewed international confidence in the country's hydrocarbon potential. The company brings unmatched technical expertise, financial capacity, and industry-leading standards in safety, environment, and social responsibility. According to the Director General of the Liberia Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the signing of these production sharing contracts with Total Engines ends a decade-long pause on Liberia's offshore petroleum program, marks a positive turning point in the country's energy future, and sends a vote of confidence in the reforms that are taking place to attract responsible operators. The partnership offers not only potential for resource development, but also concrete opportunities for local capacity building, knowledge transfer, and sustainable growth for Liberia. In 2014, President Boakai invited world-class energy companies to Liberia and pledged that under his leadership, the country will provide an environment where investment flourishes, anchored in ethics, the rule of law, international best practices, and strict adherence of contract to protect all stakeholders. The execution of the agreement with Total Energy demonstrates that the pledge by His Excellency is now bearing fruit. The President commended the LPRA leadership and acknowledged the contribution of the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Mines and Energy, the National Oil Company of Liberia, and his Special Presidential Committee on Oil and Gas. Liberia's fisheries sector has taken a historic step towards modernization as the government of Japan and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, and the National Fishery and Agriculture Authority, NAFA, jointly inaugurated a state-of-the-art fish processing facility in Little Bass, Compound 1, Brembassa County. The new facility, fully equipped with modern fish processing technology, solar power freezers, and sea safety materials, is expected to drastically cut post-harvest losses, improve food quality, and empower women fishmongers across Liberia's 9 coastal counties. For years, Liberia fisheries sector has been plunged, plagued by low productivity, unsafe fishing practices, and high post-harvest losses. Fish processors, primarily women, have relied on traditional smoking techniques that produce heavy smoke, pose serious health risks, and contaminate the fish with harmful chemicals. The facility is funded on the 3-year project, strengthening capacity in fishery and rice cultivation sector for food security and nutrition improvement. It's funded by the government of Japan, was designed to respond to these challenges through a comprehensive approach. The project's four annual objectives include enhancing small-scale fisheries and sea safety, improving livelihood of fish processors, particularly women, promoting integrated rice fish farming system, and strengthening interagency collaboration to combat overfishing. The newly launched facility features the FO trial processing technique, a proven technology introduced in over 20 countries that reduces smoke emission, improves fuel efficiency, and delivers high quality, long-lasting fish products. On yesterday, the 17th of September, the government of Liberia signed a country program framework for 2026 to 2030 with the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, in Vienna, Austria. The country program framework between Liberia and the IAEA outlines priority areas for IAEA technical cooperation in Liberia over the next 5 years, particularly in agriculture, health, and environmental protection. Agriculture Minister J. Alexander Nuta signed on behalf of the government of Liberia, while Mr. Haru, IAEA Deputy Director General and Head of the Department of Technical Cooperation, signed for the IAEA. The Country Program Framework, CPF, was developed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Liaison Office, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Ministry of Agriculture, Health, as well as the United Nations partners such as the UNDP, FAO, and the World Health Organization. The Country Program Framework is fully aligned with Liberia's National Development Plan, the Arrest Agenda for Inclusive Development, which prioritizes food security, infrastructure governance, human capital development, sanitation, and a lot more. The CPF 5-year plan identifies 5 priority areas: nuclear radiation safety and security, establishing a comprehensive regulatory framework and independent authority. Food. 2. Food and agriculture, improving crops and livestock productivity, food and safety, and sustainable soil and water management through nuclear technology. Health and nutrition, establishing a radiotherapy facility and applying nuclear techniques to assess materials and child nutrition. Energy and industry, enhancing national capacity in energy planning using IAEA tools and supporting national strategy development. Water and environment, building technical capacity to apply isotopic techniques for sustainable water resource management. Liberia joined the IAEA in 1962 and has since promoted a peaceful application of nuclear technology. In recent years, the country has renewed its participation in the IAEA's Technical Cooperation Program. The Governance Commission has concluded a one-day policy dialogue on revitalization and rewriting of an inclusive and comprehensive history for Liberia. The dialogue, which was held on the theme History of the Nation State, Pathway to Reconciliation, Healing, and Peace, brought together Liberian historians, officials of government, civil society actors, international partners, and student leaders. Of course, the media was there. The dialogue is a call for writing a history that will record and honor both suffering and triumph. A history that will not shy away from telling the uncomfortable truth, but rather use them as a stepping stone towards justice, freedom, popular participation, and unity. The Governance Commission says it holds a depository of materials from the earlier Liberia National History Project, which was stored due to lack of funding. These materials, according to them, will be available to the team or structure that will continue the history writing project. The process of writing an inclusive history for Liberia was reiterated by His Excellency during his last annual message, and the Governance Commission has now taken steps to elevate that. So last week it was announced that the Ministry of Labor has increased the price of the work permit for alien from 1,000 US dollars to 3,000. I just want to emphasize that our decision is a whole of government decision and not just a decision by the Ministry of Labor. And what is the rationale? The rationale thereof is to take the permit from the hands of foreigners, thereby allowing Liberians to have access to the jobs. Initially it was 1,000. Anybody can come here pay 1,000. So the higher the fare, the most likely more aliens have to get job in Liberia at the disadvantage of Liberian citizens. So it's a decision that was taken by the chief executive. It's a decision of the government and not just a decision taken by the ministry or the Minister of Labor. I therefore emphasize that. Lastly, before we take the acting Minister of Education, I just want to announce that also on yesterday the government launched the National Youth Service Program in Liberia. The program is a government-backed initiative being implemented by the Ministry of Youth and Sports and is dedicated to empowering youth and women through structured service, skills development, and civic engagement. With 10 programmatic pillars, the operations in more than 10 counties, the National Service Program is a flagship effort to align Liberia's development strategy with its national goals for peace, unity, and progress. The program is not simply another initiative. It is a promise to invest in the young people of our country, expand opportunities, and ensure that no Liberian is left behind. The National Youth Service Program is designed to empower more than 20,000 youth and women across 10 counties through a comprehensive 10-part framework. Key components of the program include community service, vocational training, mentorship, civic education, sanitation, and literacy program. So we will get one of the Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports to come here maybe next week Thursday to further expand on of course the intent of the program is clear, but we'll get another Deputy Minister of Youth and Sports, not the one who is suspended, but the ones that are currently There are many decent gentlemen at the Ministry of Youth and Sport. It is ever fortunate that we have a situation. But again, that's where we are. With that being said, let me now invite the distinguished acting Minister of Education and to the forward to the podium.
So that was the voice of Honorable Daniel Odesano, Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs at MICAT. This is Attorney Nikewa Fogba, Acting Minister of Education.
Deputy Ministers, our colleagues from the Law Firm, we are here this morning from Education and come with a Deputy Minister, Mr. Thomas Parker, who is the Deputy Minister for the Assistant Minister for Planning, and IT Deputy Minister for Planning. I'm also here with my Assistant Minister for Early Childhood Education, this is Pastor Harold Inswa, and our media team. We're glad to be here. As you heard, I am only here because my boss, the Minister of Education at Tasso Mali Chala, is out of the country on official business. That's why I'm here. And you also heard that this is my first time addressing the MICAT press briefing on behalf of the current leadership at the Ministry of Education. Before I go into what I have to say, I just want all of you sitting on the other side of the camera of this podium to know that a little over 2 decades ago, I also was seated on that side of this podium and asking questions. Just so you know. So I used to be the managing editor of the news newspaper. I ran our paper from 1996 until I fled the country in 2000. So I know where you sit. I have asked questions also of people standing behind this podium. So every time I come here, it's a surreal moment for me. There are many great minds and members of our fraternity that have gone to rest. So if you don't mind, I will ask you to stand as we pay homage to our brothers and sisters who have gone on to the great renown. And I will just name a few of them. The great Joe Moluba was Information Minister here. Charles Baylor, in whose memory this hall is named. The great John Vambo, Rufus Harper, Musu Haddad, Bill Inoyi, Bobby Thompson, Philip Wisek, and a host of all of our young friends and brothers who labor to make sure you all will have the opportunity to sit where you sit and ask the questions of public officials. May their souls continue to rest in peace. Thank you. These are This morning, I would like to begin this address by first speaking to the issue of the volunteer teachers. You know, our cardinal responsibility at the Ministry of Education is to make sure we provide affordable, accessible, and equitable education to all children of Liberia. That is what we are trying to do. In this process, we've had some great sons and daughters of this country who have stepped forward to fill voids in our classroom. Those are the people we're now calling volunteer teachers. They're volunteer teachers because the communities they found themselves in, they realized that there were needs to step forward in the classroom to teach our brothers and sisters. So they step forward and volunteer. Those are people who were not captured on our payroll and on the CSA processing routine. So when the minister took office, she toured the country and she commissioned an assessment of all the volunteer teachers across the country. That assessment and evaluation showed that we had about 6,198 volunteer teachers in our classrooms who were now on payroll. Then the minister commissioned another exercise to determine the competency and the capability of those who were in our classroom. Having done that, the minister, during the last budget year, this current budget year that's about to conclude, petitioned the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning and the legislature for funding to enroll about 2,000 of our volunteer teachers who are vetted, qualified on the payroll. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, in concert with the legislature, said they could provide funding for 1,000 volunteers to be enrolled on the payroll. Then, on our own volition, having realized that there were many teachers in our classroom and on our payroll, who refused to go to the areas of assignment. There are teachers on the payroll who, for example, supposed to be assigned in Grand Jide, in Bon County, in Lofa, in Bakuru, and other places, who were taking salaries and leaving our children unattended in the classroom. So we did the assessment and we identified around 1,000 of such teachers. We gave them the opportunity to come to the Ministry of Education to show reason why they should not be removed from the classroom owing to the fact that they've abandoned our classroom and left our children unattended. Because about 1,000 of them could not show any valid reason why they were not in our classrooms, we removed 1,000 of them from the payroll and replaced them with 1,000 volunteer teachers, the actual people who were in our classroom doing the work. So because of that, we submitted 2,084 personnel action notices for volunteer teachers to the CSE to enroll them on the government payroll. That's the 1,000 supported by the MFDB and the other 1,084 identified by us through our own internal payroll cleaning process. So we've now submitted 2,084 personnel action notices for volunteer teachers to the CSE. Now, when we submit the papers to the CSE, we can only now follow up with the CSE relative to the process leading to enrolling the volunteers on the payroll. That aspect of the process we do not entirely control, but we can influence. Hence, we've had several interactions with the CSE, urging them to speed up the enrollment of our volunteer teachers on the payroll because they're important and critical to the success of our academic sector. So as of this morning, on my way here, I contacted the CSE to ask how far we were with enrolling the volunteer teachers on the payroll. I was told, and I will state, that as of this morning, 417 volunteer teachers have been processed to receive salaries for September. An additional 600 volunteers, personnel action notices have been processed. They are on the DG desk for signature, they will come on for October. But the CSA assure us that between now and the end of October, they will do all that they can do to ensure that our volunteer teachers are all enrolled on the payroll. So that's the status on the volunteer teachers. It was important for us to provide this information because we're told that our volunteer teachers are now beginning to feel that we do not care about them, and some of them are trying to retort to demonstration and other actions. So to those volunteer teachers, I want to let them know that we see them, we hear them, and we're here working for them because we value the work they do to teach and mold the minds of our children. Let them know that we see them and we hear them. And every day we are at the Ministry of Education, we will continue to work for them to ensure that those who are actually doing the work in our classrooms can be the ones that are on the payroll. And the payroll cleaning exercise at the Ministry of Education will continue as we identify more teachers who are on payroll and refusing to take their assignments and sitting in Monrovia either in collusion with the DEO or CEO or some principal and stay getting salaries. I want such teachers to know that we are coming for them. So if you are a teacher, you are on the government payroll and you are assigned to a particular school and you refuse to go to your area of assignment, yet you are taking pay, beware that we are on to you very soon. We'll clean up the payroll and put those who are most deserving to be on the payroll. On another day, I will speak about tap-offs of the government teachers' salaries. Over 9,000 teacher salaries have been tapped off. Working with the NFDP, we've upgraded the salaries of over 9,000 teachers who we felt deserve better salaries. It's going to take some time to get to the level of salary we feel that they should be making. There are fiscal constraints, and we do not entirely control the process of tapping off government payroll, government teacher salaries, but we will continue to work with the NFDP to ensure that every day we'll advocate so that those who are in charge of the future of our children are handsomely and fairly compensated. So over 9,000 of our teachers' salaries have been tapped off. Today, there's not a single teacher making below $185 on our payroll. Let me repeat. Today, there's not a single teacher on the Ministry of Education payroll making less than $185 because we've advocated to carry that salary up, and each year we are at the ministry, we will continue to advocate for improvement in the salaries and working conditions. I just wanted to state that for the record. I would also now like to turn to the issue of the academic calendar. That's the instrument we use to make the regulations for the school academic year. Anything relative to fees, school closure, we put all that information in the academic calendar and we serve it to all schools, both public and private. Of late, we've had contentions from some of the private schools relative to the power we have to regulate how much they can charge for graduation and other things. I want you to know this. the Education Reform Act of 2011, Chapter 9, Section 9.1G. Let me say that. The Education Reform Act of 2011, Chapter 9, Section 9.1G gives us the power to set fees and charges for all schools. That section is specific to private schools, faith-based schools, and community schools. So if you are a proprietor of a private school, faith-based school, or community school, and you have any doubt relative to the authority we have, the source of the authority to set fees, I refer you to Section 9.1G of the Education Reform Act. Having said that, I would now like to be clear on the issue of graduation fees. We've had many complaints about graduation fees. Parents are calling from all across the country because the schools, notwithstanding the fees that we've specified in the academic calendar, some have chosen to take matters in their own hands and charge our students astronomical fees. The academic calendar states that the graduation fee for 12th grade public school is 5,000 Liberian dollars. Public school 12th grade graduation fee is 5,000 Liberian dollars. Private school 12th grade 100 US dollars. 6th and 9th grade public school 3,500 Liberian dollars. 6th and 9th grade public school 3,500 Liberian dollars. Private schools 6,000 Liberian dollars. Kindergarten public school graduation fee 2,500 Liberian dollars. Private school 5,000 Liberian dollars. We wanted to state this on record. First, we show you the source of our authority to set fees. We're now telling you about fees. I would like to inform all of our partners in the education space and encourage them to abide by these fees. Because the law also gives us the authority to fine people who are found to be in violation. And indeed, some schools have been fined. We don't find pleasure in fining schools. So we ask every proprietor out there, abide by these fees. This government, as with every government, has the sole responsibility to make sure education is affordable and accessible. The reason why there are private operators and community operators in the education space, because the government cannot be everywhere. But that does not give any operator in the space the right to violate the regulations of the Ministry of Education. That will not be tolerated. Any school falling afoul of this, we will exercise our power given to us under the Education Act, which permits us to fine, and if the violation is persistent and consistent, to take other actions consistent with the Education Act. We will not hesitate to take those actions. So, my friends, my brothers, on the other side of the microphone, we urge you that as you go around and you talk to people, encourage them to abide by the fee structure of the Ministry of Education. Those are the fees. The law permits administrative bodies and agencies through the act creating them, so to charge fees and regulate fees. We're just doing what the law permits us to do. And we encourage everyone to abide by the law, to abide by these regulations. So before every academic semester, we give the academic calendar to everybody. They are aware. Should they choose now not to abide by these regulations, then we will bring to bear the full weight of the power given us under the Education Act. So we don't want to have a problem with people. We want to encourage them to do the right thing. If you are a proprietor of a school or you run a school and you have not yet received the academic calendar, consult the Department of Instruction headed by Deputy Minister Amos Amafole, who has just joined us, and the academic calendar will be available. The calendar is also available on the Ministry of Education website. So this information is public. People should go there, read it, and show that they abide by the law. Okay? We have the power to regulate the education space, and we will not permit anybody to act outside of the regulations that we provide. That will not be accepted because it's not in the interest of our children. I just wanted to say that. Let me now turn to the issue of infrastructure, teacher training, policy reform, and student performance. You are aware that just a few weeks ago, the president dedicated the model school in Banga, Pong County, and the vice president dedicated the model school in Kanta, Nima County. The need to build those schools stemmed from the fact that our public school classrooms were overcrowded. So we needed to provide additional classrooms to depopulate our classrooms so that our classrooms are not overcrowded unnecessarily. 3 of those schools have been built in Kakata, in Banga, and in Kanta. For we have now given entrance exams to students who desire to go to that school, and we've selected the students to go to that school. We've conducted recruitment exercises for the administrative staff that will run those schools. Just so you are aware, the recruitment exercise was done largely by an extended group of people. We requested the help of Dr. Kassel from the Teachers College, University of Liberia, Lopu from the EU, who is the head of EU education at the EU, because we wanted to make sure the process of recruitment was free and fair. We wanted to make sure that those who were recruited to come to our classroom represented the very best that will be entered in our classroom. So that process has been completed for the school in Kanta and in Banga. We are completing the finishing touches on the school in Kakata. So we cannot say the school in Kakata will open for this academic semester, but the school will be completed in the next week. We wanted you to know that. We also wanted you to know that we've embarked on renovation of some of our schools across the country. In all the 15 counties, we've identified schools that were badly in need of renovation. Not all the schools, because we don't have the resources to renovate all the schools at this time. So we've embarked on renovation of some of our schools, and those renovations are about complete as our students are ready to begin the academic year. For teacher training, we have rolled out the B certificate programs at ZRTTI and WRTTI. Prior to us doing that, the B certificate program was only at KRTTI in Calata. That was defeating the purpose for which these schools were located regionally. The school in Rebel is supposed to cater to our brothers and sisters in the southeast. The school in Zaza, ZRTTI, is supposed to cater to Bon, Lofa, and Limba. And the school in Kakata is supposed to cater to Magibi, Morovia, and the western region. So to have the B certificate only in Kakata, we felt we were just shortchanging our brothers and sisters across the country. So we've now rolled that out across all of our TTIs. So our students are being trained right now. We have equipped about 28 of our schools with body science labs. We've also equipped 156 of our senior secondary schools with digital computer labs. The desire of the Minister of Education and the team at the Ministry of Education is to ensure that over the next few years, all of our senior secondary schools can have more science labs and more computer labs. Today, the Minister and the team have embarked on the procurement process to equip a further 50 of our senior secondary schools with modern science lab. That process will be completed and the laboratory equipment will be deployed in those schools before the end of the year. There are many things happening in the sector. As you heard, the government of Liberia just signed both a combination of a grant and a loan program for $89.something million to focus on strengthening early childhood and foundational learning across our schools. On the Excel programs, we will construct or renovate 100 primary schools across the country. We will take a particular time to come back here, Mr. Minister, to speak specifically on the Excel program and the great things that the Excel program is supposed to deliver. But I just wanted to give you a teaser. So great things are happening across the sector. We will continue to come here to update you. I don't have all the time to be speaking because there are many more things I have to be speaking of. But I'm told I have to leave it at that and take questions. The next time I'm here, I will expand more on most of the other things that are happening in our sector. Thank you very much for having me.
Deputy Minister Sano, Deputy Minister for Administration at the Ministry of Information, colleagues from the Ministry of Education present here, my colleagues from the National Road Fund. I'm pleased to introduce two of my colleagues who have joined me today for this press briefing. I believe this is the first from the National Road Fund and myself in particular. So I have with me Mr. Victor Wallace, who is the Director for Resource Mobilization at the National Road Fund of Liberia. I also have with me Mr. Timothy Zizifili, who is a senior accountant also at the National Road Fund. Today, we are particularly honored to be addressing the Liberian people through the Ministry of Information regular press briefing. This is our debut here at the Charles Whale Press Hall. I'm also pleased to be representing our dynamic Fund Manager, Madam Josita Novia Wanto. She's currently out of the country, attending the executive meeting of the Africa Road Fund Maintenance Association. As you may know, she serves as an executive committee member, particularly for recruitment of the August body. Before I go into my presentation, I also want to thank the Ministry of Information under the leadership of Minister Pia for the work they're doing here in helping to disseminate the wonderful work that is being done all across the government of Liberia. And so today my focus will be on the financing of road projects across the country, the activities that we're doing at the National Road Fund, and of course I'll be providing an update for some of you who don't know. Liberia has been selected to host this 22nd Conference General Assembly of the Africa Road Maintenance Fund in Liberia from the 17th to the 21st of November 2025. This conference will invite more than 200 international guests coming to the shores of Liberia. As I go through my presentation, I'll provide more updates on that. At the National Road Fund, again under the leadership of Madam Josita Winter, a very young, inspiring leader, we've embarked on some real transformative initiatives at the National Road Fund of Liberia. And I'm pleased to just provide you a few of those updates in terms of what we're doing there. As you will know, the National Road Fund of Liberia was established in 2016 and became operational in 2018. And the purpose for that was to generate revenue for the maintenance and rehabilitation of roads across the country through petroleum products. But as we survey the landscape and global events, we are anticipating and recognizing that we cannot solely be reliant on the fees on the importation of petroleum products. And therefore, we've gone ahead to develop a revenue diversification strategy. What that strategy does is that it takes into account identifying many other different streams of our revenue base that we could use to generate additional revenue for the maintenance and rehabilitation of roads across the country, while we gradually move away from the over-reliance on the importation of petroleum products. The strategy has laid the framework for us to identify areas that we could invest in and be able to generate additional money for road financing. So some of the areas that we've identified in the policy is vehicle registration. We've also identified the Access Road program as one of the areas that we could generate revenue while preserving our roads. And most importantly, toll roads. So these are areas that we've identified that in the coming months and period we're going to be investing in to diversify our revenue generation and expand the funds that we generate for road construction across the country. The toll policy. Working with the Ministry of Public Works with support from the World Bank, we're going to be developing the national toll policy. That policy will provide the framework for the building and operation of toll roads across the country. We're expecting by the end of this year, the policy will be finished and launched, and then we will now move into securing financing and partnership for the building of toll roads across the country. as we build this infrastructure, we're not just building them to leave them in isolation. We want to encourage the public that we now have to position ourselves, that we do not just see the construction of roads as a social good, and so we treat it anyhow. We at the National Road Fund, as we explore innovative ways for financing of roads, we're instituting policies that will preserve the infrastructure that we've invested in already. And so the Axolo program is just one of the programs that serves as a preventive mechanism for the roads that we're building. As we move towards second generation, third generation institution that is corporate, moving towards market capitalization, we have to see the roads that we build as a capital asset, and we have to treat it with such. And that's why, working with the Ministry of Transport, we've launched our Axolo program, installing the weight bridge at Clay Junction, where vehicles traveling that route, the vehicles are weighed, and the fee is charged on those vehicles. In the coming period, by the end of October, as per the Axolo law, there will be penalties imposed on overweight vehicles. So vehicles that is driving beyond the normal weight on the road, you will be charged $40 per violation on each truck above. So we're working with a private company to institute that, and we're going to be rolling it all across the country. So as we build the roads, we're going to preserve it so that it pays for itself over time, and not just throwing money on the ground. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is, as you know, the arrest agenda is called inclusive development. And so everything that we try to do at the National Road Fund is to include our stakeholders along. We've developed a program called the Community-Based Organization Program. That program is a labor-based approach that we use to maintain feeder, secondary, and primary roads, particularly using community dwellers, especially the young people. And so we've launched our program working with the Ministry of Public Works and the Ministry of Internal Affairs. We've financed and supported the maintenance of 1,800 kilometers of roads. Now, the CBO program, the youth are recruited, and what happens is that they're responsible to do vegetation control, sidewalk brushing, drainage cleaning, to ensure that the road is safe and is pliable to all users at all times. And under this program, we expect to create short-term jobs of more than 2,000 for rural youth. So as we go along, we are trying to include the community in the development of the country, leaving no one behind. And that's why the program seriously emphasized on the involvement of community, the participation of community. And I think somebody will want to ask, but then why are you bringing internal affairs? And that's the answer to that. As we go along implementing these programs, we're not doing it in a vacuum. We're doing it in strategic alignment with the AAID, particularly Pillar 2 of the arrest agenda. To date, 2025, we've been able, the National Road Fund, to finance 697 kilometers of roads all across the country, just for the period 2025. As we do these things, we have to be cognizant that the National Road Fund is a public institution. The money that we generate is from the public, is from the road users, and so we owe them accountability and transparency. I'm sure most of you over the period have heard some stories about the National Road Fund. But again, under the able leadership of our fund manager, we've been able to turn that corner. So to that point, we've instituted a sense for ascendancy as fund manager, internal control and financial management systems to ensure that the road fund, the money that is being generated from there, is used for the intended purpose. And so over the period, there were audits being conducted from 2018 to 2019, 2021 to 2022. And with the systems that we've put into place, we've seen the audit score of the National Road Fund increase from 33% to 85%. We expect that score to be even revised to more than 90% over the coming weeks by the GSC. And let me put this out there, that these audits, the period for the audit being conducted preceded the fund manager, the current fund manager. So she was not the fund manager at that time for the period that the audit conducted. But she has gone ahead to institute measures that will strengthen financial management in internal control system. So we'll talk to MICAT. One of the other reasons that we've come here today, as I spoke about it in my intro, is that Liberia has been selected to host the 22nd General Assembly of the Africa Road Maintenance Fund Association in Liberia. This is a big moment for the country, for the National Road Fund. The Africa Road Maintenance Fund Association, if you may not know or know, is a conglomeration of more than 35 Africa Road Funds across the country, the continent. And so one may ask, what do they do? So the AMFA, in short, is a platform where road fund bodies meet to discuss ideas, share research findings, and share knowledge in terms of the financing of roads across the African continent. And so we're very pleased that Liberia has formed a very strong voice in that body. And we have more than making of CEOs from road funds across the country, some of them managing $500 million budget. We have business leaders and financiers. We have researchers, academics, civil society organizations, and explore potential partnerships with other institutions from across the African continent. Also, the conference positioned the National Road Fund of Liberia and government as a critical voice in Africa infrastructure financing and development. But even more importantly, this conference demonstrates the governments of Liberia unwavering commitment to infrastructure development and respecting and supporting the African Union Agenda 2063 as far as the integration of the African continent is concerned through infrastructure development. In conclusion, we are working with Liberian businesses. This is an opportunity for Liberian businesses to explore potential partnerships and financing arrangements, especially construction companies. Some of the guests represent companies that use high tech for the financing, the construction of roads, showing efficiency in financing for the construction of roads. And so this will be an opportunity for them to tap into that, build a network, and then Liberia can benefit. But beyond that, it's also going to expose our country, our beautiful country. We have some beautiful tourist sites that they're going to be visiting. We're going to ensure that they do that. And we could just hope that some of the participants or the delegates can find interest in investing in our tourism center. So on that note, I want to thank again the Ministry of Information for the opportunity given us at the National Youth Fund just to talk briefly to the Liberian people and to explain the progress we're making for the preparation of the 22nd General Assembly of the African Youth Fund Association. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that's it. That is the voice of Albert Samka. This is questions by journalists.
My name is basically doing my report for Royal TV Liberia. My question goes to the Acting Minister of Education. You spoke about the issue of people violating the mandate of the Ministry of Education whenever they give out fees for various schools and for various parents or students to pay that fees. We found schools in violation. They carry the money up. Sometimes they don't abide by your rules. So my question here is, how long or what are the Ministry of Education doing to fix so we can see schools going to court for violating the Ministry of Education rules whenever there is a mandate given? How long do the Ministry of Education intend to take school to court to abide by punishment?
Well, honestly, what is the Ministry of Education doing about that? Yes.
So my name is Joseph Kepula and I report for Cape FM and website. My question goes to Acting Minister Fokpa. Is there any plan by this government to give specific names to those new schools that they are building across the country, specifically the one that is in Bon County? We were just referring to the school as the modern school, some people say the new school. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Fokpa, for coming. My name is Strogon Flamma and I work for DN News Liberia. Thank you, Minister. In your session, you said the government through your ministry has been able to increase the salaries of about 9,000 Liberian teachers. You care to tell us in cents and dollar how much was added to their salaries? You can please tell us. And on the flip side of that, recently we see normally when school close, parents who have 2-3 children, they will take that time to hold graduation for their children. But this time we see graduation in progress, and at the same time schools are resumed across the country. Why there was some delay in that in this year's schedule? Can you please tell us about that? And the National Road Fund, thank you. National Road Fund, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. The other day, the fund manager was on ELBC, and she was so emphatic about, the independence of the road fund. Can you tell us, you care to tell us what Liberia will accrue from the independence of the road fund, and to bring the public up to date? She also spoke about the various traffic lights, that there was some procurement processes done about the traffic light to have new ones. I don't know how far that has gone. Can you please bring us up to date? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Mopolu, and I report for Inside Liberia. So my first question goes to the Ministry of Education. The issue of many administrators would like to call it imposed. Like, this is what we want you to do when it comes to graduation fees, or better still, school fees. Many school administrators have the issue of school seems to be like a business. You put money there and get it, and so they spend money like they will get the school a very beautiful look, AC in some of the buildings, and then they're saying that we pay money to make the education sector conducive. So we have to get this money because we want to get a suitable area. But when we spend this money and you're telling us to pay, we should get charged 100 after we have spent a lot of money. So the question is, what is your negotiation with private school owners that you will not get imposed on them what they don't want? What is your negotiation with them when it comes to that?
I understood.
And the last question to Road Fund is that part of your work is to work with government institutions like the LRA to generate reform. But you didn't mention how much have you collected since you started this work? How much in total have you collected in helping government? Thank you.
One question for a guest. We don't have time. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Aruna, and I report for Blaze FM. My question goes to Mr. Abbott Samuka, the Chief Program Officer of the National Road Fund. Looking at the previous government, the Liberian government, who have been constructing road in Liberia, and then after some time the road is spoiled again. So how guarantee is the road that this government is constructing under in Bwaka administration? And also, how proactive will your ministry be when it comes to implementing policy in order for us to be able to maintain the road that will be constructed? Thank you.
That's agency, not ministry. Go ahead.
My name is Renzi S. Tiwia, and I report for the Liberia News Agency. My first concern goes to National Road Fund. You talk about funding people, people with heavy duty cars, and things. I didn't get that part clear. Which one of those cars you're talking about? And another thing again, you're talking about cars using the roads and road safety. If you go on the highway, like Magibi coming from County, you will see one pickup. You will see the pickup, you heavily loaded, you will see some car motor heavily loaded, you see, So are you taking consideration to this thing to be able to regulate, in terms of public safety and to MOE? Or I have interest, and the public also have interest in the issues of tuitions and regulations. Now, you talk about rules here, regulation here, and this thing being on the book for a very long time. In the past government, they will talk this thing, tuition fees and that. Still, the higher tuitions and or graduation fee, these things are still going on. Now, this time around, how are you going to curtail this thing? Are you going to wait for complaint from the parents, or are you going to sell out that for to be able to enforce this thing? Thank you.
Are you going to curtail it? It's okay. That's a question.
My name is Joseph Salif, and I report for ABC Radio. My first question goes to the National Road Fund. You care to give us a picture? Since this government took over, the total funding that have been allocated the roads across the country, and how effective is the National Road Fund when it comes to the monitoring of roads? Because it was reported that over 25 million was used on what is termed as model road. So I want to know what's the current picture of road across our country and the total funding have been allocated across roads since the government took over, and to the Ministry of Education, Mr. Acting Minister, in terms of regulations, currently schools are open, and many schools are open, and people are currently going to school. There are some schools that overcharging in terms of tuition, and you guys say you are coming up with your regulations. You got to give us a picture since then. How many schools have the Ministry of Education found, and what's the total picture of schools are in accordance with the Ministry of Education routes?
Thank you. 1 minute.
And so my name is James Mbala, and I report for Radio George Africa in Magibi County. My first questions go to the National Road Funds. Chief, my question has to do with... And so the issue has to do with traffic congestions. Traffic congestions in our city. All over in Liberia, we find up from Central Monrovia to Red Light, we find out traffic congestions is there. The police are catching hard times in controlling the traffic while pedestrians are moving. What is your institution doing in accordance with the Ministry of Public Works in able to construct a overhead pass bridge for pedestrians in the city?
Thank you.
The next one has to go to Minister Daniel Sano.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Honorable Minister, thank you. We have found out over in the years since the government sections, there have been serious work by the government in terms of suspending government officials who have gone wrong. At what level do we see the government dismissing government officials who have been alleged, other than just suspending when their credentials are still fixed and are dismissed? At what level a case will reach? Especially in this brief one.
Thank you. Understood. 1 minute. 1 minute. Question.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Jackson Siafa, and I report for SEM TV. My first question goes to, I got two questions for Minister Daniel Sano.
No, one question, no time.
Okay. Straight to the point. So, you've spent considerable time defending the Deputy Minister for Youth Development at the Ministry of Youth and Sport in relation to the rape saga. Now it is confirmed that the 14-year-old girl was tampered with. So what next? Is that not enough to have the Deputy Minister arrested, or he should be passing around as it is? Okay, then I'll go to the Ministry of Education. So my question to the Deputy Minister here is, there are concerns about patronage, that's partisanship, that you guys are trying to employ or get those partisans, teachers that have been around, mostly United Partisan on the parent, you removing those that are from the other political parties. So, that's an allegation. People have confided to us in private, so we just try to ask so that he can make clarity on that. So, is there anything as such happening? Yeah, so thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. My name is George Salif, and I report for Quality Newspaper, Quality Television. So, my questions go to the Ministry of Education, the Deputy Minister there. The public are concerned about the issue about school fees, the hiking of school fees within the country, especially the private schools now. What is the strategy that the Ministry of Education is coming with this academic year with the issue of the reduction of school fees within those public and private schools? Thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Larry Tepe, and I report for Bana FM and the Liberian journalists as well. Quickly to the National Road Fund, I want to know, the public want to know the kind of road you are involved with. Is it paved road you are intervening in, or which type of road? Is it on paved road? And what makes you different from public works?
Thank you.
And quickly to MOE, you let me commend you for talking about your past and even giving moment of silence. But the thing about it is that you are with the Ministry of Education. One of the ways to promote schools is to use your past experience, that is the press you came from. I want to know whether have you been able to put forth some policy regarding enhancing school press club. Have you been able to do that? That's your question. And to Ministry of Information, Ministry of Information, Minister Sino, most of the time when you mount the pulpit, you talk about your experience when it comes to criminal justice. I want to know.
Please accord the speaker request with respect.
Anytime you mount the podium, you talk about your experience when it comes to criminal justice. And we are talking about something that is involved with a minister in this government. Would you like to provide some information or education when it comes to the issue of rape? Thank you.
And so let me firstly say, the name is Tuba, I report for Jala TV and Spotlight Africa. Basically, I got questions for the three speakers. The first one goes to the ministry. The Ministry of Information. I mean, especially with the issue of the rape involving, alleged rape saga involving Deputy Minister at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. I mean, when has it gotten to the point that the Liberian government, through the Liberian National Police, has begun gathering DNA sample from the Embassy of America near Monrovia before coming up with findings, considering that rape is in... Okay. Okay, request, they use the term requesting.
They are requesting assistance.
Okay.
In the conduct of the DNA test.
Okay.
I'm requesting DNA sample from the Embassy.
Thank you. So, like you said, so when has it gotten to the point that the Liberian government began asking for the assistance, especially for rape that is a non-billable crime in our country, because it's involved with a government official? Thank you. This one go to the Ministry of Education. Over the years, we consider the private school to be an aid to the government, especially the buttressing national government effort in providing education for our generation. The Ministry of Education, what are the plans for national government to subsidize private school, especially the role they play for our country? And to the National Road Fund, you spoke well, but I mean, you talk about tolls. And tolls have been, in other countries, they help to provide toll gates. They help to provide, they help to generate revenue for our country. What is it like with your entity as part of the plans to having toll gates constructed on major roads in our country? Thank you.
All right, and so I'm Otis Melnax Jr., and I report for SAPI TV. My question goes to Honorable Fukwa of MOA. You spoke well. You have installed a border in graduation fees for both government and faith-based institutions, but you didn't care to mention the penalty set for schools coming in violations with your standard. And how are you working to track schools involved in violation with your standard? And how many schools have you tracked so far? Thank you.
The last person, straight to the point.
Well, I'm Lincoln H. Dahlia. I represent Monrovia Lecture News to the National Road Fund, the Chief Program Officer. It sounds interesting, expected to undertake the toll road project. Many a time we go to other African countries, we see those developments, and we wonder why these things cannot be implemented into our own country also. So many out there would like to know how soon will the project be implemented?
Thank you.
And if the project is implemented, what will Liberia benefit?
Thank you.
All right. Questions from the media. We will.
So that's it for questions by journalists. This is responses by the guest. So you're just showing you all of this. Welcome. This is LNTV Liberia Live.
Thank you for all the questions. I would like to first take a question regarding policy. This is the first time I've heard about that. And let me state emphatically that education is not a political business. Nowhere in education do we make decisions based on people's political view or political alliance. It has never happened, it will never happen. And to the person who asked the question, if you know a particular person who claims to be affected by this, I advise you to direct him to my office and we'll get to the bottom of that. At the Ministry of Education, everyone is a Liberian. Every qualified Liberian, irrespective of your political view or your political alignment, has the right to work and to teach. We don't do politics at education. We will never do politics at education. This government will not condone that. The leadership at the Ministry of Education will not condone that. I hope that is emphatically clear. I just wanted to take that first. Regarding the violation of our regulations, for schools who violate our regulation, the first fine is $150,000 payable to the LRA. We do not collect money at the Ministry of Education. So if you fine, we'll give you the paper, you go to LRA, you pay, and you come back with a receipt. If you consistently in violations, we take other actions. We do not take schools to court. We have the authority to shut schools down. Okay? We do not take schools to court. Under the law, we can fine you up to and including shutting the school down. We have the authority to shut schools down. I hope that is clear. Regarding, a lot of people question me about setting tuitions. We do not set tuitions for private schools. The marketplace of education, we have both public and private schools. It is up to the parents who can afford to decide that they want to send their children to private school. What we regulate is graduation fees. So if you see a school charging $300 US, if you can afford to send your children to that school, we do not stop you from sending your children to that school. So we do not regulate tuition per se. We regulate fees, graduation fees. You will notice that when I spoke largely about fees. Okay? I want to be clear about that. So I've addressed the political party issue, the private school issue. Regarding press club, every school in the Republic is free to establish press clubs. We do not restrict people. We believe press clubs provide opportunities for students to explore their own creative energies and develop their skills. So we encourage people to engage in press clubs, to establish press club, and if for any reason they need the assistance of the Ministry of Education, whether it's through technical support or expertise, we are available to assist. But we do not mandate press clubs, but if press clubs are established and they ask our support, we are more than willing to help. Okay? Next one was the aid to private school. If you are not already aware, the government provides subsidies to some private schools because the government is aware that government cannot build school everywhere. So there are private entities in the education space. We support them to provide education for our children. So the government does provide subsidy for some schools, private schools, faith-based and community schools. I just wanted to be clear about that. There was somebody who wanted me to explain the exact dollars and cents amount by which the salaries were tapped off. I think you want to buy them. How much will keep all that information right here? So I really do not have the details about that, but as I said, the minimum salary as of now for anybody teaching our classroom is $185 due to the tap off. The tap off are based on categories. Bachelor degrees got different type of B certificate and C certificates. I do not have the dollar amount in my head at this time. I'm sorry. Somebody asked about graduation in progress while school is open. Some of the delay was occasioned by the delay in the release of the WAEC result. We will ensure that going forward, that does not happen. But it was occasioned by the delay in the release of the WAEC result. Somebody said schools are open to do business while we want to restrict their tuitions. We do not restrict school tuitions, but our obligation as a government is to provide sufficient public schools so our parents and the children can have options, so that they are not constrained to attend private schools that are expensive. So the government obligation is to provide enough classrooms so our children can go to the qualified, competent, and well-resourced private schools that can function as well as the public schools. So yes, the last question I want to address was, say, okay, there are a lot of people that have been in violation of the regulations, and what are we going to do? In the next few weeks, you will hear what we're going to do. We are going to be regulars. We'll set up a task force that will go in the schools, in the communities. Any school that has not registered and gotten permitted that is operating, will find it. If they are persistent, we'll close it now. So we have a task force that will go into the community to check to make sure every school that is open has a permit and authorized to operate. Because this place is a country of law. You don't have the authority, you don't have the right to operate unless you are permitted by the Ministry of Education. So there will be a task force going around to identify violators to ensure that we bring them to board. Thank you. I hope I answered all the questions.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. I'm not sure I'll be able to respond to all of the questions because of time, but I'll try my best to do so. We'll start with somebody asked a question about the toll. So like I said, we are formulating the policy first. The policy will provide the framework for us to go into full operation. So we've also done traffic survey in terms of where the traffic congestion is to be able to construct the toll road. So by the time we conclude on the policy, we'll now start to engage private financing for the government itself to be able to do the toll road. Somebody asked about what kind of roads we're building. Of course, we're building different kinds of roads. So, we do roads, we do asphalt roads, we do seal chip, we do lateral roads. So those are the kind of roads that we do across the country. Financing, in fact, and to respond to the question of the difference between the Ministry of Public Works and the National Road Fund. We at the National Road Fund, we are only responsible to finance the maintenance and rehabilitation of roads and bridges across the country. Ministry of Public Works does the actual implementation along with the Ministry of Transport. So those are the two institutions that the National Road Fund provides funding for road maintenance and rehabilitation across the country. The next question, the traffic lights. As we speak, we've disbursed significant amounts to the contractor, and the traffic lights are in country. They are now doing mobilization for the installation of those lights at the different designated points. The quality of roads, how do we do it? At the National Road Fund, we have instituted a framework called result-oriented monitoring system. So what that system does is that it allows engineers on the National Road Fund to conduct surveillance inspection on all of the roads that we're financing. We go there unannounced to see if the contractors are adhering to the technical specification and best practices. And so we do that. Once we find out that you're not meeting the specifications, we're not going to disburse money to you. And that is how it goes. Somebody asked how much money we've collected up to this point. I may not have come with the aggregated amount since the government took over, But what I can report on is that from January of this year to June, we've been able to raise approximately 21 million from all of our different sources that we generate funding. Traffic congestion. The President has made it clear to the Minister of Public Works, and that information has been communicated to the National Road Fund. If you go across the city, you will see that emergency repair works have been done to ensure the free flow of traffic. In terms of identifying additional roads to construct, that takes time because of this design, feasibility study, and all of those. But we're very cognizant of that, and we're working very aggressively to see if we can find the money to be able to do that. The overpass bridge. Yes, as you would know, the governor of Liberia launched the project the other day. This is a Chinese-funded project, but what role the National Road Fund has played in that project is the payment of the resettlement action package to owners who have had properties along the way that the project is going to be affected by. We've done the disbursement, and that's why the team was being able to mobilize, and the Ministry of Public Works launched the project. So I've addressed the toll issue. The quality of roads I've also addressed. LRA collection, of course. The National Road Fund is a first generation, and for some of you who may not know what a first generation road fund is, it's basically heavily controlled by the government, and we're pushing with the amendment of our proposed law to go to third generation. And what that means is that we're going to be autonomous, we're going to be a corporate body, be able to invest by ourselves, and we're going to have a board that is run by professionals. And so as we do that, right now we are not directly collecting our own fees. It's being collected by the LRA, but we can assure you, we can inform you, in fact, not just assure you, that money now being collected on behalf of the National Road Fund no longer goes to the consolidated account. It goes directly to the Road Fund account. So it's a step in trying to move towards the third generation road fund. I think if I put the point towards all of the roads, yeah, so I thought I answered that question, but what I said is that I did not come with all of the aggregated amount from since the government took over. But what I can say is that with this year alone, we've been able to generate approximately $21 million from January to June.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Someone may answer that question? Yeah. That's your work go on, man. Okay, so we want to say many thanks to Acting Minister Popper and Albert Samka from the National Road Fund. I just want to answer the few questions that were directly posed to the Ministry of Information. So, the comrade from Radio Joy Africa, in my view, said the president wanted to suspend government official. What will he dismiss? The question you should be asking yourself is, when was the last time anybody suspended ever went back to their position? When was the last time? The next chair was suspended, and after the investigation, she was reinstated. Or go beyond the next year. The scores of other people in the government that have been suspended, and you have to understand, sometimes it is possible an allegation is made and a minister of government, official government is involved. It's also possible that upon thorough investigation, the allegation could be proven otherwise. So the best thing to do from a leadership perspective is not to outright dismiss anybody. Of course, there are instances where people will be suspended and they are investigated and culpability is not established, they can be reinstated. As was in the case of the NEC chair, the NEC board chair, there were some administrative issues which they disagree on, and the president made intervention. When those issues were resolved, she was reinstated. So the goal is not to just be outright dismissing people without establishing cause. So all those that were suspended because there was something against them. If you go to prove yourself, there are people who were suspended from local electoral to going through LCC investigation, and the other day was reported here that indictment has been issued by the court. They now have to go to the court to clear them in, right? So administratively, it is the safest thing to do as a leader, and not to just outright dismiss people without establishing cause. Somebody asked a question which I think is completely out of order. To say that we are defending the rape suspect, I think that was out of order. When you listen to what I said from the beginning of the press conference, I was only cautioning the activists. Maybe some of you do not agree that we should frequently, whenever you are confronted with a problem, look into history, the answer will be provided for you. That's the necessity of history. Yesterday, in 2014, we were talking about the Inter-Topa case. They were the same approach people gave it, the same approach I see people giving this case. So my young man, I was not defending and will never defend anybody who is accused of getting themselves involved with a crime such as rape. I'm a father of official government, and I cannot defend anybody for the crime they have been accused of committing. All we did here was to say, look, give the investigating authority the opportunity to do their work. All of the protests, this, that will not help it. Because if the police buy into the pressure from the activists and say, okay, we want to arrest a man tomorrow, and the protest will get a court to convict me, no. They will need proper facing evidence. If you can't get the evidence, you can't admit them, to the court. Of course, you cannot go to the court on fishing expedition. So I beg to differ. Nobody will ever use this platform, this space, to defend anything that resembles rape. We are only cautioning our people. We know the case has generated public interest, but even as that, we cannot proceed without taking into consideration the professional standards of investigation and what is required to prove culpability. In the absence of those, the government cannot win the case. So give the police a chance. Oh God. Why is the government seeking intervention from the U.S. Embassy? Of course. A case of this nature has drawn international attention. See, when we are concerned about it, there are others who are concerned about it. And if, as a government, we do not have the sophistication to do it, there's nothing wrong with asking for assistance from our most traditional ally, who is the United States. When the Capitol building was set ablaze by some individuals, the people who came here to conduct the investigation and convince some of you. Because again, you were saying that, oh, the case is political. The case is political, meaning that everything that the LNP and the fire service did was not professional. But when the international court came from the US, they did their investigation, then some of you now believe that, oh yes, the thing was asking for truth. So, I mean, we are a country, but we have to admit that we now have the sophistication that it would take to forensic. In this age and time, others are not using science to do criminal investigation. So, if you can do a DNA test that clearly prove that there was sample of the person who was accused to be discovered on the victim, then it's simple. You just want to create what you call alibi to put the suspect on the crime scene. When you do that, then you can go to say, look, we're arresting because we already have reason to believe. In the absence that I can do it. So yeah, they have the sophistication, so I see nothing wrong with the LNP going to, asking the intervention of the United States. Of course, there are other medical facilities here, and that's why you as a journalist, you attend that press conference, you should ask the LNP boss. We have hospitals here with the sophistication. The last time somebody popular was accused or something, and they want to Jamali into the DNA test. And the DNA test prove otherwise. So you should have asked the LNP boss, why are you not going to Jamali, but you are seeking intervention from the US Embassy? But sorry to say, you are there, you didn't answer that question. What you're concerned about is why the man has not been arrested. Why he has not been arrested? They also told you that they have collected footage from the CCTV camera that are printed there. You failed to ask the LNP boss, what did they discover from the collection of the footage from the CCTV? You come to MICAT, you say, oh, why are people going to the US Embassy? Now MICAT isn't in there. LNP. We are just transmitting what they put up. And we are just, as the spokesman of the government, trying to calm the storm while the professionals will do their work. And to also re-echo the position that the head of government, the president, has taken. Because somebody will argue that, oh, he stayed in official capacity. As Adam, he's being suspended. So he's going through that investigation as a private individual and not as a government official. So that alone is sufficient to give the police officers and other professionals that are involved in the investigation the free hand to treat him as a private individual without fear or favor. Okay? I think that's the best way I could respond to your questions. On that note, we want to say thanks to all of you for the participation. Yeah.
So before I go, I just wanted to recognize Zoe in the room. I'm here. Zoe used to practice when I was practicing. So how are you? I'm fine. Good to see you again.
So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
So that's it for today's press briefing here at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. So today MICAT press briefing was addressed by Honorable Daniel Otesano, Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs. Here at MICAT, Antonio Nyeke Wafokwa, Acting Minister of Education, and Mr. Albert Kesamuka, Chief Program Officers, the National Road Fund of Liberia. Honorable Sano spoke on trending national issues, highlighting government progress and reforms with programs. Honorable Fokwa provided updates on the education sector, highlighting progress and reforms with focuses on following prohibited areas, efforts to improve the condition of voluntary teachers for implementation presentation of the 2025-2026 academic calendar, nationwide achievements in infrastructure, teacher training, policy reforms, and students' performance, among others, while Honorable Samukar provided updates on the transformation activities at the National Road Fund of Liberia and Liberia preparation to host the 22nd General Assembly of the Africa Road Maintenance Firms Association in November 2025. And that brings us to the end of today's MICAT press briefing.